Okay, folks, let's try this again. But you know as well as I do, over the past 24 hours, this has been talked about throughout all of social media. It's been talked about a lot on Twitter. You know, it's been talked about through various places like Bleacher Report, OneWrestling.com, or OneWrestlingVideo.com. You've had Don Tony and Kevin Castle talk about it, along with the host of Wrestling Soup. You know, you've had a lot of people talking about this. You know, I'm sure Solid Monster, when the clip goes up of his show, he'll be talking about it. But this past Monday night on Raw, almost seemingly within a month, the fourth fan incident with WWE occurred. Now we all know what happened last week. We all know about that situation, which is why Triple H last week was not at Raw like he was this week. So, with that said, this is something that I have to agree with people at Bleacher Report and OneWrestlingVideo.com and Don Tony and Kevin Castle, and you know, and I'm sure Delexman has talked about it, and I'm sure the Schleg Daddy's going to talk about it, and everybody that talks about wrestling is going to talk about it. I know PWR is going to talk about it in a few weeks on their edition of Primetime Wrestling, which they will do the Saturday before Night of Champions. But with that said, you would think that after everything that's gone down in the past month, the WWE would beef up their security. I mean, back in Victoria, British Columbia, you have a fan throwing in a replica Money in the Bank briefcase that throughout the night, he had various superstars and divas sign after their matches. Now, according to the video, in my opinion, it sounded like people were daring him to throw it in. And I guess coming under peer pressure, he did it. Now, it could have been the fact that he got peer pressured by people daring him to do it, or he was planning to do it in the first place. I mean, we all know, in many fans' eyes, many pure wrestling fans' eyes, Roman Reigns is not the most liked guy. You know, even though he's the cousin of The Rock, you know, he's not the most liked guy. So, with that said, whether or not the guy intended it to happen or he didn't, you know, it's still no excuse. I mean, Roman Reigns even said in an interview that it was kind of scary for a moment, because it could have been worse. And then a few weeks after that, maybe 2 weeks after that, you have another fan jumping the railing at a SmackDown taping, I guess towards the end of it, or whatever, or basically at the end of a Dean Ambrose match, which he won. You have a fan jumping the railing, going after him, and in the eyes of those that saw this, the sources that were there, it looked like he had something sharp in his hand. So, with that said, you think they would beef up the security a lot more. And then you had the situation at the Performance Center, which, surprisingly, from what I understand, is just like any other building in an industrial area. The only place locked off or gated off is the parking lot for the trainers and the trainees and whoever. The Performance Center itself is open to the public, apparently, to walk in and out as you please. I guess, to kind of get an idea of what goes on the inside. Well, as you all know, because this reached national, and that was my dog, she's kind of cleaning her, she's kind of trying to bite off some fleas and all that. But anyway, you know, the Performance Center is basically with the parking area, like I said, for the trainers, the trainees, and those that come there to hone their craft or get better at what they do, the rest of the building is open to the public, like I said, to come and see, how things are done, even though they do have security. Now, you would think that with something like the Performance Center, even if it's located in an industrial area, industrial business area, that at least it'd be the one building that would be heavily guarded, right? Well, apparently it wasn't, because the guy, and again, this is something that, as we all know, made national media. The guy kept coming week after week, even after he had several run-ins with the police, been arrested several times, whatever. He kept coming back and coming back and coming back. Now, apparently, he was obsessed with becoming a wrestler. I can understand you want to live your dream and everything, but you don't do it this way. You don't come out, bang on the window, dressed in a wrestling outfit or whatever, and say, hey, I'm going to kick all your blankety blanks because you didn't hire me. You don't do it because, according to sources, you're fixated on a female superstar diva that, whether or not it's one of the trainers in Lita, or it's a former diva that basically prematurely, in the eyes of some, hung up her boots after WrestleMania and AJ Lee. You don't do that. You don't threaten and do all that kind of stuff just because you're fixated with one or the other and you're obsessed with becoming a superstar. You don't do that. You don't do it to the point that you constantly have run-ins with police, with the law, if you will. Get arrested, post bail, and come back and do it again. You don't get attention by trying to swing around a chain, banging on windows, basically not being all mentally there. I can understand, like I say, some people being obsessed with wrestling. I know there's a lot of pure, hardcore wrestling fans, and when they look at the WWE, they appreciate that the WWE is trying their best to give them more emphasis on in-ring wrestling and indie-style-like matches than they ever have. They can appreciate that, but what they don't appreciate is people like a John Cena or even a Roman Reigns being pushed down our throats constantly, or being pushed down the throats constantly. So, I can understand that from an obsessed, hardcore wrestling fan's perspective. But this is an entirely different thing. And if you're mentally, not all there, maybe after the first few incidences, it should at least become clear that, okay, maybe something's not right here, maybe I need to get help. Now, with that said, you think they would beef up, now with that said, in that incident, you think WWE would beef up the security. But apparently it did not happen, because as we all saw this past Monday night on Raw, in case you haven't, it's trending on Twitter. People posted pictures of it that they took off their TV or being there live. People have posted video of it that they've taken off their DVRs of watching it live. You've had people that were there at the arena that saw it live. But basically, this past Monday night on Raw, during the entrance for his second match of the night, Seth Rollins was unexpectedly being followed, some people say being trolled, by a fan trying to accompany him to the ring. Now, again, there are several pictures and video of this incident being shown inadvertently on WWE Raw on the USA Network. Inadvertently. And the reason I say that is because as soon as this happened, and Seth turned his head, they panned right back to the ring. Why? Because they didn't want to show security escorting the fan out of the building. Now, the individual that did the report for Bleacher basically said that this is something that needs to stop. Because we don't know if the guy was just trolling Seth, going like, yeah, I'm going to just walk in, look, I'm big and bad, just like Seth Rollins. I don't know if that was his intention or what. I mean, I understand there's an old saying that when people do this, when they jump the barriers, the guard railing, at wrestling events or even maybe surprisingly MMA events or whatever, or they jump the railing at basketball, NBA events, or NHL events, if they can even do that. Or even jump the wall at football, at NFL or college football games, or college baseball, Major League Baseball games. You know, I can understand that when people do that, let's say more along the lines of, let's say, streakers or whatever, they do it because they're either being dared to do it, and they say, okay, I've got tickets to this next event, I'm going to do it, even if it might ban me for life, or for the rest of the year from going to a game. You know, why do they do it? Because they know nowadays, with today's social media, it's going to get them that old saying that was used back in the day, and that is the 5 seconds of fame. That's right. The reason for a lot of this, maybe not so much what happened at the Performance Center, but everything else is nothing more than 5 minutes of fame. Now, like I said, I'm not sure about, now the Performance Center, I wouldn't really put in that category because obviously something was wrong with that guy mentally, and I'm not too sure about the SmackDown deal because we're not really sure what happened there. But still, it's more along the lines of your 5 minutes of fame, or your 5 seconds of fame. That's all they want. That's all they want, is that 5 seconds of fame. And the question always is it really worth it? Is it really worth putting yourself and those involved with what you're doing in danger, just for that 5 minutes or 5 seconds of fame? Is it really worth it? Is it really worth running out on the field during a college football game or an NFL football game, streaking or doing whatever, really worth it for 5 to 15 seconds of fame? Is it really worth it? Is it really worth disguising yourself as a referee during an Arizona State game, which you could look this up on YouTube and social media and it's still there, just for 5 to 15 seconds of fame, even if you know you're going to be called out by the officials at that game saying, hey, you're not one of us, you're just a kid, what are you doing? Is it really worth it? No. No, it's not. You don't go out there just because you want your 5 to 15 seconds of fame. No. Why do you think YouTube was created? Because it's an outlet for people to get their voices heard, to be noticed. Okay? It along with Dailymotion, Vimeo, Facebook, you know, Metacafe, whatever, Zipcast, Screenwave. These are places, and even Blimp when it was around, were outlets for people to do videos so they could get noticed. There was no need for people to go out on the fields or go into the rings or even, God forbid, into the octagons of an MMA event and try to get that 5 to 15 seconds of fame. No. 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 You see, these video outlets were used to suppress that. I was trying to think of the word there. Were made to suppress that. Because I've noticed, and I'm not sure if anybody else has noticed, that since the inclusion of these video uploading, sharing sites on social media, a lot of what happens, it still happens, but it's decreased in a sense that now people are using things like YouTube, Dailymotion, Zipcast, Screenwave, Vimeo, you name it, to basically get noticed, to get their voices across, to get their points, their opinions across. They don't need to go out onto a field, streaking or not, disguised as a referee or a cheerleader or yell leader or whatever or not, just to get their 5 seconds of fame. You know, they don't need to bum rush into a ring or throw something into a ring or whatever, or try to attack a wrestler whether they had something in their hand or not, or try to troll a wrestler by accompanying them down to the ring. You know, they don't need to do that. They don't need to do that. There's no need to do that. And again, That's what these video websites, in my opinion, I think anybody would agree, are here for. They're here whether you like them or not, whether you like the restrictions or you don't. That is what they're here for. They're here to help suppress things like that, because this way people have more of an outlet to say, hey, here we are. You know, pay attention to us. Listen to what we have to say. Now, again, I'm not saying that things like what we've been seeing in the WWE with these fans, what we've seen in, at football games, like that Arizona State referee situation. I'm not saying things like this still don't happen. They do. Which is why when it happens, you have cameras cut away. Or you have the commentators, when that happens and the camera cuts away, they talk about, oh, some idiot person just did this. It's the fact that there's no need for it. Because if you want your 5 seconds of fame, or your 5 minutes of fame, or your 20 minutes of fame, that's what these video outlets are for. But still, obviously it doesn't matter due to the fact that the WWE and various other places don't beef up the security. But it's not just WWE or UFC or the NBA or Major League Baseball or NFL or college. It's not just them. It's not just the various boxing promotions like the WBA or the IBF or the WBO. It's not just them. It's the venues, it's the facilities that lend themselves out to these places, to these promotions, these leagues, these teams. It's their responsibility too. It is basically a two-way street and an equal partnership that has to be worked upon. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. This February, Super Bowl 50, the 50th Super Bowl is going to happen in my backyard. And we all know that when the NFL holds the Super Bowl, especially with one as big as the 50th anniversary, that security is going to be tight-knit. And you know what? It is a multiple-way street between Levi Stadium, the people that run Levi Stadium, Levi Corporation, the County of Santa Clara, and the NFL, and the multimedia entertainment outlets that help cover and build up and hype up and create, the pageantry of the Super Bowl, especially for Super Bowl 50. It is a multiple-way street. It's a multiple equal partnership. This is something that they know they have to have eyes in the back of their head. Which is why, let's say for example, I'll give you an example. They notice somebody trying to get ready to sneak out of the stands and onto the field. They're going to have security just all the way around. I'm ready to pounce on that person or those people. Why do you think you don't see people doing that during a lot of these finales of sporting events like Super Bowls, NBA Finals, World Series, NHL, Stanley Cup Finals, College Football National Championship, Final Fours? Why do you think you don't see that? Because these events are huge. They are big. They are important. They are the pageantry. They are basically the culmination of everything that season has been. Which is why security is so beefed up and equaled out that you don't see various run-ins. You don't see various people running onto the courts, the fields, or anything like that. Because security is beefed up. And this is something that needs to happen all the time. Not just because of an event that's a culmination of everything that's occurred. Okay? Not just because of that. Same thing with WrestleMania. You notice that, there was one fan that jumped the guard railing during WrestleMania a few years ago. I think that was during Shawn Michaels, John Cena's match at WrestleMania 23, I believe. The thing is, that fan, he got through there, but guess what? We haven't noticed anything since then. We haven't seen any fan interaction or interjections. We haven't seen that at WrestleMania. Why? Because they're starting to treat WrestleMania the same on the same equal level as a Super Bowl, a World Series, an NBA Finals, a college national championship, the whole